Hello everyone and welcome to our Afro-Asian Literature. So today we're diving into our first lesson, Africa. But before we start, let me give you a startling statement. Did you know that for hundreds of years, prevailing idea in the Western world was that Africa, a continent with thousands of years of history, had no real literature or culture hanggang dumating ang Europeans? Imagine being told that your entire heritage, yung mga kwento ng lolo, lola mo, your people's identity didn't count. Nakaka-insulto, di ba? Today, we're going to talk about why that's completely wrong, and we'll look at the literature that proves it. So, let's start by debunking this myth. The handout from our textbook is very clear. It says that the idea of Africa having barren literature is just a persistent myth. The truth is, Africa has a rich and ancient literary tradition. Marami dito ay oral literature, meaning it was passed down through stories, songs, and proverbs from generation to generation. Kumbaga sa atin, bago pa man naisulat, mayroon na tayong mga epiko tulad ng Biag ni Lamang. Ganon din sa Africa. Their early writings focus on nature, tribes, and their gods, the very core of their existence. This all changed with the arrival of European colonizers in the 15th century. Ito yung tinatawag na colonial shadow. The colonizers used their own history and literature to reinforce imperialism. Ito yung policy of extending a country's power and influence through colonization. Ginawa nilang standard ang sarili nilang culture, and in the process, they belittled or intentionally ignored the local cultures of Africa. Dahil dito, maraming African writers ang nagsimulang magsulat ng tinatawag na literature of protest. It was their weapon to fight back. And this fight gave birth to a very important movement called Négritude. It started in the 1930s with French-speaking black intellectuals in Paris. In simple terms, Negritude was a big collective no to the colonizers. It was a movement to reclaim their identity. Parang sinasabi nila, we are black, we are proud of our African roots, and our culture is beautiful and valid. It was about rejecting the idea that white culture was the only one that mattered and celebrating their own humanity. Now, I want to pause and ask something. This is a question for everyone watching. Based on our discussion of Negritude, what is one practical way you can show pride in your own Filipino culture today? Pwedeng sa pananamit, sa wika, sa pagkain. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Speaking of Negritude and pride, let's look at our first literary piece, the poem Africa by David Diop. Si David Diop ay isang poet na may African parents, but sa France siya lumaki. He never set foot in Africa during his youth. So in this poem, he's talking to a homeland he has never seen. The poem is an apostrophe, isang literary device kung saan kinakausap ng speaker ang isang tao, bagay, or idea na wala naman doon. Kinakausap niya ang Africa mismo. He says, I have never known you, but your blood flows in my veins. Grabe yung feeling na yun, no? Parang mga Filipino-America who feel a deep connection to the Philippines kahit hindi sila dito lumaki. It's an ancestral connection. The themes are so powerful. We see the pain and humiliation of slavery, the blood of your sweat, the sweat of your work, the work of your slavery, pero at the same time, we see immense pride in the proud warriors and this back that is unbent. And finally, mayroong hope. He sees Africa as a young and strong tree that is springing up anew. But this hope comes with a price, leading to the din of liberty na may bitter taste. Which brings us to the philosophy of the poem. It tells us that identity can survive even the worst kind of suffering. The spirit of a people is obstinate, matigas ang ulo, hindi basta-basta sumusuko. At yung kalayaan, it's not sweet and easy, it's earned through struggle. And that struggle gives it a bitter taste. Let me ask another question for everyone to reflect on. In David Diop's poem, he talks about the bitter taste of liberty. What do you think he means by this? Can freedom have a bitter side? Share your interpretations below. Now, let's move to our second piece, a short story titled Once Upon a Time by Nadine Gordimer, a Nobel Prize winner from South Africa. This isn't your typical Disney story. It's a dark, modern fairy tale set during apartheid, a system of institutionalized racial segregation that existed in South Africa. The story is about a family living in a suburb who becomes obsessed with their security. The main theme here is fear. It's about how fear can make people do irrational things. The family keeps adding security, burglar bars, alarms, high walls, and finally yung dragon's teeth or razor wire. The story shows the irony of security na yung mga bagay na dapat mag-protect sa kanila ay siya mismong naging sanhi ng tragedy. It's a powerful commentary on racism and the social paranoia that comes with it. At sa huli, mayroong loss of innocence both for the little boy and for the family. The philosophy is chilling but true. The walls revealed to keep danger out can become our own prisons. It's a warning na kapag hinayaan natin kainin tayo ng takot, sisirain nito yung mismong mga bagay na gusto nating protektahan. Parang sa buhay, di ba? Sometimes we're so afraid to fail or get hurt that we don't even try. We build walls around our hearts or our ambitions only to realize we trap ourselves. Hey, I'd love to hear your take on this. The family in Once Upon a Time was not given a specific race. How does this choice by the author make the story's message about fear and racism even more powerful? Our third and final literary piece for this lesson is a short story from Ghana, titled Anticipation by Mabel Dove-Danquah. Mabel Dove-Danquah was a literary trailblazer, isa siyang pioneering feminist writer during a time when female voices were not often heard. Her stories are known for challenging the social norms, especially when it comes to the roles of women. So, what is Anticipation about? The story is set during a grand festival. Ang bida, or should I say the antagonist, is si Nana Adakato, an Amenhene or paramount chief. He already has 40 wives. Yes, 40. But during the festival, he sees this beautiful dancer named Efwa and decides, I must have her agad-agad. So he offers 100 pounds, a huge amount of money back then, para pakasalan siya. He sends his linguist, his trusted advisor, to make it happen. Akala ni Chief, sure win na siya. He had the money, the power, but he was in for a major surprise. The title itself, Anticipation, refers to the chief eagerly waiting for his new beautiful wife. This story is so rich with themes. Una, we see the clash between modernity and tradition. While the setting is very traditional with chiefs and festivals, the character of Alpha shows a very modern kind of cleverness. The story is also a brilliant display of female intelligence and agency. Hindi siya passive victim. She takes control of the situation. It's also a subtle but sharp critique of polygamy and the absolute power of the chief, showing how it can lead to arrogance and foolishness. It makes us question the objectification of women. Are they just something to be bought? This leads me to a situational question for everyone watching. If you were Efwa, would you have done the same thing? Why or why not? What does her action say about her character? Let me know your honest answers in the comments. Would you go for the money or would you expose him right away? The philosophy of the story is my favorite part. It's a classic tale of brains over brawn, or in this case, cleverness over power. Efwa proves that you don't need to be physically strong or powerful to win. She uses her wit, The story powerfully states that women are not commodities. Hindi sila product na pwedeng bilhin. And most importantly, it's a lesson that assumptions lead to foolishness. The chief was so arrogant that he couldn't even remember the faces of his own wives. And that became his downfall. To wrap up our entire discussion for Lesson 1, from the myths about Africa to the powerful works of Diop, Gordimer, and Dove-Danquah, I want to leave you with this African proverb, until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify the hunter. For so long, the story of Africa was told by the hunters, the colonizers. Literature like the works of Diop, Gordimer, and Dove-Danquah is the lion learning to write. It's about taking back the narrative and telling their own story in all its pain, pride, and complexity. That's it for our lesson 1. I hope this gives you a better understanding of the forces that shape African literature. Don't forget to answer the discussion questions in the comments. I'm really excited to read your insights. Thank you for learning with me today. See you in the next video.